Welcome. In this video I'm going to be comparing the energy usage from my Mac Mini with the M1 processor to the computer I just upgraded to, which is a Mac Studio with the M2 processor. Now I've done a couple of other videos on those two computers and I'll put links below to those videos. But in this video I just want to take a look at the energy usage. So I'm using the Home Assistant software with a Kasa Smart Monitoring Outlet, and I plugged my computer into that. And on the left here is the Mac Mini with the M1 processor, and then on the right is the Mac Studio with the M2 processor. And you can see this here where it hits 0. That's actually while I was transferring it over. So this stat here says Mac Mini M1, but I just haven't renamed this since moving it over to the Mac Studio. So looking at this graph, we can see the very bottom here is when it's sleeping. So if I kind of scroll along here with my mouse, I can see it's about 2.3, 1.9 watts, so about 2 watts. So when it's sleeping, it draws about 2 watts on the Mac Mini with M1 processor. Now if we go up to the Mac Studio, we can see here it's 5.4 watts. Here's 5.4, it's pretty consistent, right around 5.4 watts. So the Mac Studio with M2 processor takes twice as many watts while it's sleeping. Then if we look at this kind of straight line here, I'll call that like the idle power. So the Mac Mini with the M1 processor takes around 10 watts, maybe around 11 if we round up. And then the M2 processor in the Mac Studio is 14.2 watts. Let's go over here, and we're getting the same thing, about 14.2. Now I mostly do general computing and editing videos with these. I can't say exactly when I was doing any specific task, but we'll look at the kind of peak here on the Mac Mini with M1 processor, and we peaked out at 34.3 watts. Here's one to the left of it. That's 32.7 watts. Now if we go to the highest peaks on the Mac Studio with the M2 processor, we can see we're getting 59.9 watts, 60.6, 62.4, and 55.5. So as you can see from this data, the Mac Mini with the M1 processor is quite a bit more efficient than the Mac Studio with M2 processor. This actually kind of surprised me. I figured the Mac Studio with M2 processor was going to be a little bit more efficient. Now I know it's a more powerful computer, but they have all those efficiency cores in it, and I figured it could shut things down where it was just sipping the electricity. But you can see just even when it's sleeping, we're taking about twice as much power. Now at idle, it's only running about 4 or 5 watts more. But those are the wattages that really matter. This is on all the time, so I can just hit a button and use it. Now these peaks here usually aren't a big deal because it only runs for just a short amount of time, so it might have been compiling something or doing some task that took a lot more electricity. Now I'll say either of these are probably more efficient than a lot of computers that are not as powerful as these computers. I know some PCs will take hundreds and hundreds of watts, and they may be comparable to this. And I know there are PCs that are more powerful than these that take a lot more wattage. I used to have a Pentium 4 and it took 130 watts just sitting there doing nothing. So this isn't too bad. But that's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you like this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.